Well, 55 years ago, Faith, when I was a senior in high school, it was a dirt road under construction. Little did I know how important it would become to so many people. We're talking about I-630.
Yeah, and there are certainly benefits to using this popular interstate, like saving time during your commute. But tonight, I sat down with a local historian who shows us the Black history that was lost as a result.
Whether you're driving to and from work, going to Chenal for a day of shopping or a night out with friends, you likely use I-630. But let's go back in time to look at its history and impact. The development of the East-West Expressway spanned over 2 decades.
And they start talking about it in the 1940s. The early 1950s, you see concrete plans.
One of the reasons behind the development of the interstate,
people could live in the suburbs of Little Rock and still work downtown with an ease to and from work.
At the time, President Dwight D. Eisenhower called the development of the interstate highway system, quote, essential to the national interest. With the passing of the Federal Highway Act, this was the largest public works program in American history at the time. But it came at a cost to the African American community. 9th, 10th, and 11th Street in the Black community was pretty much wiped out. Brian Rogers is a local historian who works with Mosaic Templars. He says back then, West 9th Street was compared to the bustling streets of Harlem.
At one point, there were over 100 Black businesses along 9th Street. In an interview that I saw, people said we could come and shop with dignity. There was nobody following us around the store, constantly asking, did we need anything?
But today, a lot of those Black businesses no longer exist.
The only original building is Arkansas Flag and Banner, which was Taborian Hall.
Black families were impacted too, forced to move out so the interstate could move in.
During that time, during the early 50s, mid-50s, there was no political representation for the Black community.
For African Americans who didn't want to give up their business or homes, there really wasn't an option for them.
There's a government tool that they use called eminent domain, and they declared that that land was best served for the public interest, and they took it and they compensated you anyway, but they forced you to leave.
The Federal Highway Act not only had huge impacts here in Arkansas, but across the entire country. Estimates from the U.S. Department of Transportation reveal the interstate program displaced almost 500,000 households and more than 1 million people. Some scholars, like NYU Law's Deborah Archer, claim most were Black and poor.
Some of them were never able to buy new homes, and they just ended up renting homes for the rest of their lives.
Some scholars conclude these impacts have spanned generations and can still be felt in the African American community.
Certainly, it reduced the wealth of the African American community in Little Rock.
Rogers also tells us through research he's conducted, the interstate not only inadvertently separated people by race and class, but also separated resources.
The Heights is a relatively small area, but has 2 fire stations. South of 630, the majority of the businesses that you find are churches and liquor stores.
Flash forward to today, community groups and politicians in major cities like Dallas, Nashville, and Minneapolis are pushing to rethink and redesign interstates to hopefully bring communities back together. Some of those ideas include covering current interstates with green space and parks.
I don't know what the future holds for Little Rock in terms of I-630, I-30, but I think there are some things to think about and some progress that could be made.
Amazing. We just didn't know it at the time what the impact would be. And I don't think the city developers really had thought about it, which is another slap in the face to the community that was living there.
Yeah, now here in Little Rock, Mayor Frank Scott Jr. has taken steps to revitalize areas south of 630 and east of 30. And those things include implementing street and sidewalk improvements, instituting new affordable housing, and increasing Wi-Fi capability. So some steps being made, but only time will tell on how we're able to unite communities.
And meanwhile, property values north of 630 far greater than those south of I-630. It has become a dividing line.
Yeah, a lot of things we have to consider here. So, yeah.